Hey, what is going on, everybody? It is Nolan, or the Optimistic Gamer here, and welcome back to the Optimistic Survival Series. Today, we are gonna be shifting away from what we have been doing recently, which is building and exploring and experimenting and making farms and looting ancient cities. Today, we are going to be doing some aesthetic changes to our valley. Specifically, well, first of all, you will notice that I have been hard at work with our wheat farm, and it is almost completely, it actually is completely filled up with wheat seeds where I have already tilled the ground. Of course, I would like to expand this all the way over here to kind of the edge of this ravine that we have running through the land. And I also want to expand it over towards our storage house a little bit. What I'm kind of picturing in my head is this path right here where we have this little intersection. I want to extend this up behind the Mending Villager's house, who we really need to give him a friend or something, because he has been all alone in there on, let's see, what is today? Today is day 597. He has probably been in there for a year and a half, maybe starting to get close to 2 years, all by himself in there. So we will get him a friend eventually. Anyway, what I was thinking is bringing this path up the side of this hill right here, behind the house right there, and sort of having it come behind the chimney on the outside of the windmill, and then eventually merging with this path all the way up here. Now, there's basically 3 things in life that are guaranteed: death, taxes, and me procrastinating on the path that I tell everyone that I'm going to work on off camera, but I never get around to doing that. So I have committed myself that by the end of the next episode, I will have the path extended all the way out to our old zombie XP farm in that direction. I will also have it extended out over here, going all the way to, not necessarily all the way to the village, but to this large ravine, valley dip, whatever we want to call it, right to this river. You can see I've already kind of marked out how I want that path to follow. And then I will also get this path put in place as well, because what I want to do in the next episode is just do a lot of planning, figure out the future of this world. We've kind of conquered, I completely missed that jump. We've kind of conquered all of the main challenges. Of course, there is one that we have yet to do, but we will tackle that in the near future. For now, though, I would like to plan out what the future of this valley is going to look like. And if we have paths going all throughout the valley, even all the way over to the boathouse, it will make it a little bit easier to do some of that planning and kind of zone out where we want everything to be. But like many of these building projects that I have done, I am not going to bore you guys to death by just building paths for the entire episode. Instead, what we are going to do today is right down in this pit. I talked about this when we built the windmill and the wheat field, but I would like to turn this pit right here into an artificial lake. Now, I have done this once before in survival. It is very tedious, and I did mention this, but I promised myself I would never do that again. But this is just too good to refuse. I think a lake right about here with a shoreline at about this Y level filling in this giant hole is just what we need, because we could have a waterfall over here on this cliffside and a whole river coming down into the lake, and then we might even be able to dig a few more rivers and canals connecting to some of the various ravines, and maybe even extending all the way out towards the boathouse. But that is definitely way far in the future. Today, it is just going to be filling this in with water. Now, there are a few different ways that I can go about this. The easiest way, in my opinion, is to fill everything with gravel because I want the base, I want it to kind of be like an ocean. So I'm going to cover all of this grass with gravel, and then I'm going to fill in the top layer with blocks. Well, not the very top, one below the top layer with blocks, and then I will place all of the water, and I'll probably use netherrack for those blocks since it is instant mine. And then I will fill in all of the top with water, and then go back and place kelp in every single block so that it turns into a source block. That's not necessarily a must-have step, but I just prefer that all of those be source blocks and have a complete lake. So the first thing that we are going to do to get started is actually, well, I'm trying to decide if I want these creeper holes as part of this lake, and I think that would actually be a kind of a cool backstory to all of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave those creeper holes. I'm gonna go get all of the gravel that we have, which we have a lot of it, thank goodness. And then we will just start to build the perimeter of this lake. Also, some other exciting news. I spent a few hours, yes, a few hours, moving all of our items from the old storage building into the new, and I am so happy with how everything turned out. Of course, I have very quickly memorized where everything is just because of all the running around I did when I was sorting all of those items. But to give you a quick tour, right here we have natural resources, and I love the hanging signs look. It definitely completes the whole feel of this. Right here we have wood, and then the nether and end items. Not all of these chests have been labeled, and not all of them have contents in them yet. This one has snow, but this one does not have anything, so still a lot of TBD chests that we have in here. But over here we have a lot of the smaller categories, so we have some miscellaneous items right here, and some valuables as well. Now, there were a few items that I omitted from including, such as firework rockets, since we will always keep those stocked up in our shulker box inside of our ender chest, which reminds me I need to make a trip to our creeper farm back at spawn and get some more gunpowder for more firework rockets. And then I have also combined certain categories just to make use of the space. Of course, I built the outside of this building before planning the inside, so the chests are built around the building rather than the building being built around the chests. So I had to squeeze a couple of these categories together, but I think they fit together quite nicely. For example, clocks and compasses, which surprisingly I have 2 clocks and 0 compasses. Maps and brushes, I feel like those should definitely be paired together. And these are all of the shulker boxes that I had laying around, either filled with contents or emptied. There are still multiple shulker boxes in my house, I think 6 or 8 of them. I know that I got a lot of shulkers when we were in the end because, well, here's another one right here, which actually reminds me. The other category that I did not include here, and you may have noticed it, is food, because I would really like to have storage for a lot of items in separate places, not necessarily all grouped together. So for food, as an example, I would like to build a restaurant, and we may turn the clock tower building right here into that, but I think this would actually be better suited as a town hall, so I think we will work on that. But I would like to build a restaurant. Of course, potions and potion ingredients are stored right in here, so glass bottles and all of those items right up here are stored separately from the storage house. That way, anytime that we want to make some food or brew some potions, we don't have to come to the storage building to get the materials that we need. They are just already in place. So that is why there are a few resources that just aren't sorted in here. And then lastly, upstairs, we have bulk storage. Now, I haven't done anything fancy with this. I've just been placing down chests as I fill them up down here. And while we are up here, we will grab some of this gravel. Now, this doesn't mean I have a large chest full of gravel. The gravel shares a chest with sand, so we only have a normal sized chest full of it, but it should hopefully still be enough for filling in this lake. And I hope we will have some left over after the fact so I can continue to build all of those paths. But I'm thinking we will have the lake... I'm trying to decide where I want the surface to be, because we could go up quite a bit, but the higher we go, of course we don't want to go this high because we don't want water all the way over here. So I think we will have the water level right here, which means we will place gravel on the blocks right above it. And this is going to be the shoreline, this is going to be the floor, and everything all around. I'm going to cover up all of the grass and dirt, which means in spots like this, there will be gravel here and gravel like this, but I will also build that gravel up to cover all of the grass. So I think I will actually do a time lapse for this, and you can just sit back and enjoy me basically torturing myself for the next hour or two, or however long this is going to take. Alright, so this is where we are at. I have now run out of gravel. Unfortunately, I'm going to need a lot more of that, so I will go work on that. We will probably just source that from the netherite caves. I'm assuming that is the easiest place. There are some gravelly hills over in that direction, but I'm a little weary of taking gravel from super close to the valley because I don't know long term how large we are going to expand, and I just want to preserve some of the natural landscape of the area. So I think we will just get that from the nether and go with that, and then I will probably get 3 shulker box fulls. I started going to our old storage building. I need to travel to the new one. I will get probably 3 shulker box fulls of gravel. That should hopefully be enough to complete the lake, filling it in. And we are very full in the seeds chest. I may need to break this up a little bit more, but I can just store all of those items in the flowers chest for now. I also had these bricks. I was fixing up the sheep farm, the explosion that we had. I got the red sheep back in his place, so we are all good there. And I'm still working on reconfiguring this because the way I had it set up, the hoppers weren't dropping into all 3 of the chests, but I'm trying to stay on top of it a lot more anyway so we don't get backed up to begin with. But I grabbed these materials earlier to fix this up, and then we should be relatively back to normal. We do have a gravel patch under here though, but I'm just gonna leave that be. We will go find some gravel in the nether. While I am here in the nether, I've been working a little bit more on our nether hub. I got these slabs raised up, so these are now half slabs, which prevent mob spawns in here. Of course, we still have a few spawnable blocks as we go down. I might throw some string on top of there, but it's really not that many, so I don't even know if it'll be an issue for us. But we are traveling in this direction to our netherite caves. And those, if I remember correctly, are right down here where this black stone pillar is. And here we go, we have some gravel already. Hopefully we don't uncover any lava overhead. We are relatively close to that lava surface level, but this shouldn't take us too long if we find a few more patches of gravel just like that. Of course, we have our instant dig netherite shovel, and who knows, we may even uncover some ancient debris. So about a stack and a half from that. I'm gonna go get about 50 more stacks and then head back to the lake and finish off that work. Well, roughly 1.5 shulker boxes later and a near-death experience that I'm not going to talk about, I have pretty much scooped all of the caves dry. There are a couple more tunnels that I'm finding right over here that I haven't even come in and exploded yet, so I will just check these out in both directions, although that one doesn't really go anywhere. But otherwise, I think I've just about cleared out all of these caves and tunnels down here. So now I'm just going to fly around in the nether and just see if I can find any patches of gravel above ground. There should be more than enough, I would assume. But with the amount of gravel that I have cleared out and all of these exposed blocks that I have, well, exposed, I would have hoped to have more than 0 ancient debris at the moment, but I guess I just have to keep the hopes up and see if we can find any. Of course, that's not the main purpose, it's just an added bonus, but if I was using this method to find ancient debris, I would be very disappointed, that's for sure. But I mean, look at this. We are at Y level 12 in the nether. I just cleared out this entire space right here and didn't find a single ancient debris. Multiply that by about 30. Just goes to show how rare ancient debris really is. Well, I am genuinely shocked that I didn't find a single ancient debris, and maybe I shouldn't be shocked, but with the amount of gravel that I obtained, that one I don't have anything in. We should be okay with the amount that we have, but with the amount that I did find, I am very shocked that I didn't come across a single ancient debris down there. I'm just gonna cruise around up here just real quick, see if there are any other gravel patches. How about right here that we can dig up and just get a little bit more to add to our collection, but this should be more than enough. It'll be nice to have that surplus though that we can use for the path. I suppose while we are over here we could stop by at the Froglight farm and get a few more of these since we have some large magma cubes in the area. I just don't want to hit any of these frogs when they jump. That would not be good. Our arrow would definitely take them out in one hit, that's for sure. We'll just let all of these tiny magma cubes work their way towards the middle, and while they do that, I will put the rest of the gravel into the shulker box. And I heard a ghast. Alright, we always got to be careful of those when we are around this farm. I really should build some better walls and protection around it, just to protect from ghasts, but I haven't had too many issues yet, knock on wood. Alright, lots of froglights to pick up here. Excellent. And of course it doubles as a magma cream farm, so even better. Alright, 30 froglights from that, and I think with the amount of gravel we have, we can head home. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the time-lapse rolling once again. We should be able to get this all finished up, and then we will add some water, fill it with kelp, and hopefully call it a day. And there it is, our finished-ish lake. I realized there is a little spot I missed over here. Not a big deal, but everything is now all filled in, except for this area right here, which I will just do real quick. There we go, nothing to it. The way I did the creeper holes, I actually covered all the dirt. I didn't really change anything, I just covered all the dirt, but I left the stone, so it almost looks like all of the gravel around it was just kind of blown out. It just kind of got shot out. I really like this one right here. It looks very damaging. Hopefully it'll look pretty good once we fill it in with water. There was also something right here I found, a little staircase that goes down. I think it was one of our staircases when we escaped from underground, but I wanted to check that out with all of you. As for this area right here, I think we will probably have some kind of river flowing down. That's why I didn't do too much with the shore right along there, but we will figure that out in the future. So let's check out this staircase real quick, just a little bit of history of the world, and I'll just make sure I have an escape route in case there are any monsters, which I see a zombie right down here, and it looks like this opens up. Oh wow. Okay, this opens up into a very large cave. We will have to do something with this, for sure. That is a very cool cave right down there, and you can bet for a fact that we will definitely have a secret entrance in this water that takes us down to that cave. But for now, let's just focus on the lake. So I'm going to cover this entire top layer right here with some netherrack, and then we will bring in the hundreds of buckets of water that I am going to need to fill in all of that water, and then we will just take out the netherrack real quick. Hopefully I have depth strider 2. Maybe I have an extra pair of depth strider 3 boots that we can throw on. But we have quite a bit of gravel left, not as much as when we started, but enough to do all of the paths all around the world, so that is great. Alright, one more time lapse of the water going in place, and then we will go from there. And there we go. That is the finished cover for this lake. So now we just need to fill it all in with water, and then we will go back through and destroy all of the netherrack. I suppose we could duck in here and check out what it looks like if we want to. Of course, I've basically just made a giant hostile mob farm right now, as you can see. We are going to get out of here before we attract too much trouble, and we will just cover that back up. But once we get the water put down and when we remove all this netherrack, of course those mobs will pretty much all drown, and of course the zombies will turn into drowns. So let me go get a bunch of buckets. I'm just going to set up an infinite water source right here. And once we start to get things going, it should just kind of sweep across. Hopefully, that is the plan. I think if we... I know there's a strategy to this, a certain method. I'll see if I can figure that out. I think if we place them along the sides and then do the diagonals, it should fill in from there. I just want to make sure I store away all of the extra netherrack that I had in my inventory so that when I wreck everything that's there, I know the exact amount of kelp that I am going to need to place down. So I'm just going to get enough buckets to fill up my hotbar, which we already have 6 water buckets and 3 additional buckets to fill everything up. We will fly back. I think we'll just set up this infinite water source right here for now and then work our way over. We can move this as we need to. So I have the water buckets filled up now, and of course this is not necessarily a perfect square. What I could do, although I don't have any blocks, let me just take my shovel and I will go up here on this little bluff and grab some of this dirt. And then I think we might be able to make sort of an artificial edge right here. If we place our grass like so, and then a couple more, and then have it go in that direction. That way I can also see what the exact diagonal plane that we are going to need to be on is. There we go. And I think we can just start placing water in a diagonal like this. And yeah, that is doing the trick. That is filling everything in nicely as we go, and this should work all the way across. And of course it's raining. It would be nice if the rain would just fill up this lake for us. Normally that's how it works, but not today. There we go. Now I've found a rhythm. I'm just kind of scooping and replacing that water on the next diagonal out, and it is creating that infinite water source as we go. Rapid fire. Alright, we messed up there a little bit at the end, but we will just step back and reset to finish that off. And this might be the satisfying part. This might be the part where it just fills everything in automatically from here on out. It looks like it's not really getting these edges all that much, so I will have to do that myself. But that's okay, and there we go. And that's just going to take off. Of course, it's going to flood that cave over there a little bit, but that will fill in all the way across. I think one more right there, and maybe one more right there. That will do the trick. Of course, I need to put some blocks going across here to prevent that from flowing in, and then a couple other spots around the edges that it couldn't quite get, but I will just go in here. We will fill all of those in and remove the netherrack. And there it goes again. Isn't that satisfying? And is that gonna do it for us? It sure is. Excellent. Well, I guess we have a little bit more right along here, just when I thought we were done. There we go. Now we are finished. So definitely a very large body of water, maybe even big enough to have an island in the middle, but we will see about that on a very, very later date. So now I just have to go in here and wreck all the netherrack. I'm not going to do a time lapse or anything like that for this. It won't take me all that long. Aha! Perfect. Just what I was looking for. So all of the netherrack is cleared away now. We have our full body of water, and all of the monsters have kind of huddled in a single location. I'm just gonna boat around and gather the netherrack that I can. It's not gonna be the exact amount that was placed down, but if I can get a rough estimate of how much kelp I will need to place down on every single block, that will be very helpful. And I have now cleaned up all of the mobs out of there, gathered pretty much all of the netherrack that I could, And with all of that, it is now time to reveal this. Of course, the kelp is still... I still have to add that in, but I will get around to that. It just means that those water blocks underneath the top layer aren't source blocks. It's just flowing water, but we will get that taken care of. Alright, here it is. Doesn't that just look fantastic? I know we are still missing a little bit of the edge right there, but with our homestead, our valley right behind it, I think a body of water is just what this valley needed. Let me turn up my view distance real quick so we get some of those mountains in the background as well. Oh yeah, that is a nice scene right there. I am so excited about all of the potential that this lake has to offer. I think, let me check the episode time and we will see if we will call it there, or if we have time for a couple more time lapses of me filling in the rest of our trails. Okay, well, I did not realize that the episode has gotten as long as it had. We definitely are out of time, but I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know it was a little bit different of a format than what we have done in the past. I hope you enjoyed those time lapses as well. I definitely spent a little too long searching for gravel today, but that's okay. We will make up for lost time in the next episode when we will hopefully finally have all of the paths extending through the valley and we can do some extensive planning on everything. But with all of that being said, leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on daily content as soon as I publish it. Check the description for some more important information, links, how to contact me, all of that good stuff. And with all of that being said, comment, like, subscribe, remember to stay optimistic, and I will see all of you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bye.